Hello. I'd like to talk to you today about the difference between wealth and prosperity. I want to talk about this through 7 different points I'd like to make. The first one is that prosperity leads to simplicity and wealth leads to complexity. So this is the first way of understanding these two terms as I'm sharing them. Prosperity is something that makes your life lighter. And in that sense, it invites you to shed weight, the weight of your opinions, the weight of low self-esteem, the weight of seriousness, self-judgment, the weight of all that extra stuff, in your cupboard, in your attic, all the stuff in life that takes up so much of your valuable time. Wealth is about accumulation as opposed to prosperity being about flow. So those are two very different things to consider. And prosperity is something that we cultivate, because it's an inner experience as much as an outer experience. And in that sense, it invites a simplification of our thinking and of our life. And that's the opposite of wealth, which increases your baggage and it increases your responsibilities and your worries and the amount of time you have to spend keeping all those balls in the air at the same time. So contrary to popular belief, wealth actually makes your life more complicated on all levels. Second point, prosperity is lucidity, wealth is anxiety. In my teachings of the gene keys, I teach a beautiful technique called the art of contemplation. And the art of contemplation is all about how we use our mind creatively. Now, the pace of modern life has so many of us in its thrall, and as we rush headlong from one thing to another, one responsibility to another, and we're the unwitting victims of a widespread, chaotic, and generally anxious mindset. But as you learn this art, the gentle art of contemplation, you begin to see life with a new kind of crystal lucidity. You slow down. Inwardly you slow down, and possibly outwardly as well. And life suddenly becomes much more simple than before. You're moving with a different pace, and you're centered in an easygoing rhythm. And in that rhythm, your mind functions as nature intends it to, without clutter and with a piercing clarity. And that clarity is what cuts through anxiety, the anxiety of the wealth consciousness. So prosperity again wins. The third point, prosperity flows from love. In my teachings of the gene keys, we have various ways in which we contemplate, the major aspects of our life. We contemplate purpose through a whole series called the Activation Sequence, an online program. And then we contemplate and uproot some of our trauma deep in our body through another teaching called the Venus Sequence, another online program. And one of the things I've learned about these sequences, which are called the Golden Path, is that they come in a certain order, and they go in the order of purpose, partnerships, or love. Purpose, love, prosperity, and that's an incredible revelation that they naturally flow in that order, because what it says is that. What it's shown me is that prosperity only really comes about when we've learned to heal our heart, when we've dealt with our trauma. Indeed, prosperity is the byproduct of an open heart. So once again, the hunger for wealth, actually, all it is a great distraction from the path of the heart. So how can you heal your heart, which needs softness and patience, when you're chasing this illusion that possesses your mind for most of your day? You're chasing this illusion of success or, accumulation. And in fact, prosperity really flows from love. So that's a real key point. Number 4, prosperity is of the whole being. Wealth involves only the material plane. is a really key one. So prosperity, it involves the fullness of your life. How can you prosper if you're not healthy? How can you prosper if your relationships aren't fulfilling? How can you prosper if you're not deeply connected to a sense of purpose? When your heart finally opens, you will already have realized how lucky you are to have discovered this greatest of secrets, that it's love that buys you time, not money. Number 5, prosperity is philanthropic. I like this one. I like them all. This can be a huge revelation for modern businesses. It's the universal law that to receive the true wealth of nature and life, we have to give back to life. And the philanthropic approach, therefore, has to be at the heart of all businesses from the very beginning. It has to be integral to the business model itself. It can't just be an add-on. It's got to be at the core. A heart-based approach to business is so revolutionary and rebellious, in fact, in today's world, that actually it can't fail to attract the allies and resources that are necessary for the dream of that business to become real. So, contemplate these things as you go about your everyday life, particularly if you're in business. Number 6, prosperity is relative. So when you learn the art of contemplation, you also come to see that what the most natural form of prosperity, will take in your life. So how it naturally forms for you. And this is particularly something that comes from studying the Pearl sequence. This is one of the programs that we offer at Gene Keys. We'll put a link at the bottom here. And, so one person's prosperity is very different from another's. So one person might, their true prosperity might be to actually have as little as possible in life in order to live a life of clarity and simplicity. And for some people, that's what they're seeking their whole lives, just to bring things down to the quintessence and just simple life, just the simple things. Those are the things that really fulfill us. Whereas another person might harbor a deep dream of service, in their soul, in their heart. And that service might require substantial resources. That's a different form of prosperity. Another person might require resources because they are a celebrator of life. And that's their prosperity. Their prosperity is to share it and to share the party of life, to open up their doors and to spread it around. That's very different again. So there are many forms of prosperity. If you come and study the Pearl sequence and you decide that there's something you're interested in, you'll see what yours is actually. What is your particular style of good fortune? So prosperity is unique and relative to every one of us. It's not just a blanket thing. And the 7th and final point here, prosperity is to know the essential in life. This is a great insight of these Gene Keys teachings. It's perhaps the most profound of all, that we have to know what matters in life. And then we have to live according to that realization. So if our quest for more takes us away from the only things that really matter in life, what good is it doing us? It's actually having the opposite effect from what it promises, because we're looking for something out there to help us feel better in here. And yet it's having the opposite effect from what we dream it will. And when you get to the end of your life and you're on your deathbed, this is the case with almost everyone. People, there's been a lot of research, like what do people think of on their deathbed? It's usually only 2 things: the value of the life that they've lived and the people that they've loved. Those are the things that truly matter. In these teachings of the Gene Keys, of the Golden Path, these are the foundations of prosperity: a deep sense of purpose and the preciousness of your relationships. You know, these are the essentials in life. And the Pearl teaching reminds us over and over and over again to come back to these essentials. And then when you really know them, you can design a life based on those essentials. And I can tell you, it will probably look very different from the one you're living now. But this is a revolutionary teaching. And, you know, I guess I'll leave you with this final question, you know, and I invite you to be brave in your response. The question is, how are you spending the lion's share of your precious time in this world?